Twitter and social media censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop story did more to interfere in our elections and democracy than anything Russia was accused of doing in 2016 or beyond that. Now, if you remember, the accusation of Russia interfering and spreading disinformation was because 12 Russian trolls spent $100,000 in an election where hundreds of millions, if close to $1 billion, were spent on ads, on advertisement and things. But we're to believe that $100,000 of ads from Russian trolls that were on Pokemon Go and Facebook, half of which weren't seen until after the election, half of which were pro-BLM and pro-LGBT causes. We were to believe that that was interference in our system and interference and disinformation in our elections that required all of this scrutiny, required meetings on Capitol Hill, had some Democrats saying this was an act of war, had constant calls for censorship from Democrats and other people and media people and social media giants because we need to censor disinformation because it could have stolen election. $100,000 of ads on Pokemon Go. This proves that Democrats and the media understand that they believe that if there was a massive effort from outside sources to interfere in our elections through controlling the flow of information, that it would have a significant effect on our elections. So today they're gaslighting you saying, who cares if Twitter made this decision? It was perfectly reasonable. It didn't affect the election anyways. But they've told you already with the Russian trolls and the misinformation from 2016 that they actually believe far less, $100,000 worth of ads on Pokemon Go and Facebook, would be able to impact the election. So what would happen if almost every mainstream media outlet and almost every tech company decided to censor in the run-up to an election stories that were critical of one of the campaigns? That would be election interference of a magnitude thousands times greater of what these Russian trolls were accused of. And yet even that level that the Russian trolls were accused of was enough for Democrats to claim this was election information. Not only that, they're still using these Russian trolls as an excuse to this day to justify their censorship efforts. Now, when I debate people on the left, it's so strange. Every time I debate them, it's always the one Democrat or left-leaning person that didn't think the Russia collusion thing was a big deal. And I didn't think that the Russia troll thing was a big deal. But we can see that when the rubber meets the road, every single time that Democrats and the media giants want to censor people, they go back to saying, well, we have to do this because of the dangers of 2016. The Twitter drop files show that. You can see Yoel Roth, former head of their safety at Twitter. See what he says here at the top. The policy basis is hacked materials. Though as discussed, this is an emerging situation where the facts remain unclear. Given the severe risks here and the lesson of 2016, we're erring on the side of including a warning and preventing this content from being amplified. And what was the lesson of 2016? Well, the real lesson was that Yoel Roth's preferred candidate and all of these people at Twitter's preferred candidate, Hillary Clinton, lost. That was the real lesson. And so they decided that they needed to censor information that could result in their side losing again. But what they're implying here was the lesson of 2016 was, remember when those dangerous Russians put misinformation on Pokemon Go and Facebook? Well, now we have to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story. This is sort of the absurdity that they get away with their gaslighting. They constantly downplay things, and then when we find out about it later, like we find out Twitter did this, they say, well, of course we did it because we were justified. They're constantly laying the groundwork for censorship and authoritarianism in the future, saying we need to do this because of past events. What was that event again? So remember, when they tried to gaslight you and saying it's no big deal, Twitter did this, all of these Democrats not only said that far less than this, that 12 Russian trolls stole an election or impacted or interfered in an election, but they're still using that as the excuse to censor stories that are critical of their side.